something I've learned, especially in my recent adventures watching Tim Pool with when he changed from this one guy who was kind of a funny classical liberal conspiracy theorist, which I enjoyed, to this new guy who is really a fucking moron. Is that when people are excited about a technology and they lack the expertise to actually unpack like its genuine applications, this is what you get. Is the discussion that's like essentially ill-informed and all hype.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that's going on a lot with the augmented reality tech market at the moment.
Oh, sure. And it's well, I'm very aware of it with VR, for example.
Yeah. Well, there is something for VR I am genuinely excited for that could change up the game. And that being holographic lenses.
Okay. Sure. But the issue is that like it still hasn't found its application, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah, like the all VR games are just tech demos at this point.
Pretty much.
And like, I don't know. I haven't played Half-Life Alyx. I don't know anybody who has. Because I don't know anybody with that expensive of a VR rig. But I don't know. It seems like it could be cool, but one, I don't know. I didn't care too much about Half-Life 2 or Alex as a character, so I don't know, because it wasn't fucking polygonal people with motion capture. And, like that's where, honestly, I feel like that's where Half-Life's vibe is best.
Are you trying to commit
as
polygamy?
uh, yeah, but I think that's where Half-Life's vibe is best, is as a creepy, like somewhat liminal '90s PC game.
Sure. I mean, the truth is that Valve is kind of stupid because they took this position that they're only gonna like produce a product when they can demo new tech. But the fact is that like technology comes and goes in waves, and there hasn't been a new demoable wave really since like the 3D physics engine. Because that's the dirty little secret about VR. It doesn't actually change anything. It's just that you have a 360 panorama of what's going on. But what's going on in the game is exactly what it always was. So so yeah, yeah, and Valve, as you just kind of pointed out by your position, they just fucking waste their IPs. Like they sit around waiting for this opportunity to show that they've done something special, but since they've been collecting Steam cash, they haven't been trying to do anything special.
Yeah.
And just fucking existing that way doesn't actually like nothing was gonna come up. Nothing has come up. Like we have, it's you have to change a lot. I mean, you need video games to become something other than recreation, essentially, if you're genuinely going to influence the market. So, and Valve hasn't done anything to do that. And so what they could have done the entire time is actually spend effort and resources like crafting and investing like continuous narrative. But given their model of we're only going to do shit when things change, then they just wasted fucking several years of people's loyalty, which they could have
Yeah.
capitalized on instead. Yeah.
Indeed.
We'll see.
Like, something that I learned recently, I didn't know that CS:GO was literally just like an HD port of Counter-Strike Source.
Yeah. Well, and did you also know that Counter-Strike Source is literally just the multiplayer Half-Life?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, their games haven't changed in Jesus Christ, we're going like 20 years or something.
Yeah, but also they didn't need to make like I, I don't know. They could have just been, the dev that uses the source engine and, churned out like a whole bunch of crazy experiences. Because the
Well,
like
I appreciate the fact that they didn't do that to an extent, right? Like a lot of the games from churn out companies are pretty bad, right?
sure, yeah. But like, I don't know. Just you could have had like something kind of like I don't know, almost Armored Core in a sense. I don't know, of like just a massive sprawling like world and narrative, but like all set in that like grungy liminal like Half-Life 1 art style.
Yeah,
And it's
they
like
could have.
if you could have just told your whole story instead of dragging it out this long, like
Yeah.
been I'd have been fine with that.
Yeah, I agree. And I also don't see the reason like the Half-Life story is not the most profound piece of literature to ever exist, right?
No.
It's good. In the first game, it's great even. But for most of the first game, the the part where the fucking troops decide to nuke Black Mesa is a little bit shaky. Um, but anyway, no, there's really good shit there, but there wasn't enough constriction to merit the idea of like, oh well, we can't actually finish it right now.
Yeah. Like the least you
This
could
is
do
more,
is finish one fucking story arc.
yeah,
They couldn't even manage that. It's like at least finish Half-Life 2, you know?
yeah.
If you're gonna
Well,
if you're gonna do
it's
that.
it's a very classic hack move at this point, though.
Yeah.
To like basically not actually finish a story in order to make it feel more like robust and deep.
Yeah. Like
Um,
you can have your cake and eat it too in that respect. Like you can tie up the story in a nice little bow while also leaving, some things out in the world. Be like, oh,
yeah.
but that's still happening. I wonder what that could be.
Well, to be fair, the best way they could have done that, honestly, is you put out Half-Life 2 was unnecessary, but 2 can exist. Fine, I don't care. But you put out like Half-Life 1 and 2, and Portal, and then you can be done with that at least section of the Half-Life universe timeline
Sure.
and just say that. Like where look, we showed you everything that we knew happened at that time. But then if we jump to a different time, then it's gonna be different. Or we're done with that story. Like this is the tale of the Half-Life universe, and it's a fucking shithole. In the end, it turns out. Like
Yeah.
you could do that. But they basically made it like a century-long project for no reason, because it doesn't merit it, actually.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just laughing at something Cody said.
What did Cody say?
Oh.
No.
Apparently he just watched the Legend, A Dragon Ball tale last sense in general. Which I recommend if you haven't seen it. It's like, story-wise, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, but like as far as the animation is concerned, like that's kind of the Dragon Ball that I wish we got. It's animated by the same, or one of the artists for the Castlevania anime.
Yeah, I saw that comment, so I'll have a look at some point. Hopefully, Castlevania anime before the final season of Castlevania, or at least the latest.
I have not seen such, so.
Gotcha. They definitely ran out of money. That's pretty clear.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, but I mean, the series, the story is generally good, ultimately. But yeah, the difference in, for example, just fight scenes in the early series versus the last season. Oof, it's bad.
Yeah, no, this is animated like, you know, early to mid series Castlevania.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'll check it out eventually.
And like for a fan film, it's fucking beautiful.
Right.
It's a fucking beaut.
Speaking of that, reminds me.
Hmm.
So, have you ever gotten around to watching any of Partition TV's reviews of the Elder Scrolls games? My guess is no.
Oh, patrician. Partition.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, of course.
I may have watched a little bit.
He's really good. He does an excellent job of like breaking down each Elder Scrolls game, where it's strong, where it's weak, and why.
Yeah. Now here's my initial nitpick is you don't need 8 to 12 hours to pick apart what's good and what's bad in these games, because there's a lot of overlap. I feel like if I'll give it a shot at some point, but I feel like if you're making videos like this on a certain topic, like the length kind of indicates to me that like you don't have your thoughts together on the subject.
No. Turns out. At all. That's definitely not the situation.
I mean, again, I'll give it a shot. I'm just saying that's the initial read of
I understand the impression. It's not an unreasonable impression, but he doesn't dawdle or dwell or kind of follow a no construction. His construction is pretty interesting because the way he breaks things up is that he discusses the because really the Elder Scrolls games are games about allegiance to factions and the main quest.
Yeah.
And his structure winds up being a review of faction allegiances and the main quest, and within those, as they become like of paramount importance, he goes into details about gameplay issues, but he does it in the context always of like where this is important with regards to your experience in the story. So I could definitely I would definitely say his structure is not maybe ideal or perfect, but taking as much time with as much detail as he provides, it seems appropriate. I mean, and I kind of breaking down a like 35-hour plus game in 10 hours doesn't seem reasonable.
I don't know. It really depends on like how the breakdown goes, I guess, like what method he's using. Because if it's, I don't know, something that I'm not too big of a fan of as well is like somebody going step by step through the entire game, and like even if it's something they've touched on at an earlier point, they're gonna go over it and be like, and as I've said before, we're gonna recap this 12 times because this is one of 3 aspects about this game that I've found. Is
Yeah,
yada,
he
yada,
definitely
yada.
doesn't do that.
All right, well, good. If,
That happens in like in a thematic sense where he's like, this is the overarching problem of the game, this is how you can observe it, and these are the points at which it shows up. But outside of that, like in general, it's relatively fresh.
yeah, because I don't know. There are ways to go about it of like, you know, addressing the problem and then giving examples, and then there's the ways of, you know, going through the game and each example addressing the problem. And I feel like one is clearly better than the other.
I disagree that either is clearly better, but certainly stylistically, they feel different. They accomplish different things, and the argument is made in different ways.
I don't know. I feel like when you like go over the examples like as they come up in the game and then keep harping on the same issue, I feel like that grates on a listener after a while.
It's a matter of
certainly grates on me.
It's a matter of taste and capability.
It's certainly
like, the way he does it, to my mind, does not grate at all. So, yeah. But my point, what I was gonna say initially, I don't exactly remember the exact tangent I was going to go on, or what we were talking about before. But what I was gonna say was just that, like, this motherfucker has still not released his fucking Skyrim review, and it's due at this point. Driving me nuts. Yeah, I don't remember why I brought it up in the first place, but
well, I don't know. Apparently, a month ago, he has a 6.5-hour editing stream for his Skyrim video. So
yeah, it's a work in progress.
but I don't know. I feel like with a game as beloved and then reviled as Skyrim, uh, I think that certainly is pressure to get it right.
Well, I mean, he's done a pretty good job of, because you could say beloved and reviled about every one of the mainline Elder Scrolls games.
I don't know about that for Oblivion. I don't know anybody who can't stand Oblivion.
Really? You kidding? Oblivion was very contentious because, and it remains quite contentious, because people kind of have this like perspective that they want to feel like Oblivion had everything right. It was the world they liked the best. They appreciated the systems, etc., etc., and that the main quest is the best of any mainline Elder Scrolls game. Like that's a very common perspective. Also, the idea of like being overly satisfied with the Dark Brotherhood's representation in that game. Like, there's plenty of people that make the argument that Oblivion's the best one.
Yeah, that's. I'm saying I haven't heard anybody say the opposite.
Oh, that it's terrible?
Yeah, I other than people ragging on the character models and whatnot.
Well, I mean, that's always the first point, but how about the fact that every single thing feels the fucking same? And, like, the Dark Brotherhood was nice, but it's clearly the only faction that got any attention. Or the fact that it suffers from the main quest urgency problem, which I always talk about when it comes to Mass Effect.
Yeah, like, and I talked about this before, but yeah.
Okay, so if you want an example of somebody who has a good reason for why they think Oblivion is terrible, that's me. Because the fucking main quest urgency takes me out of being invested at all. And I literally, to this day, I cannot remember, like, in my head, how any city in the game looks outside of the Imperial City.
Interesting.
So whereas, like, I could draw you a map of, you know, a chunk of Skyrim cities. And I could really draw you the entire map of Morrowind at this point.
I mean, fair enough. I get you. I don't necessarily have the same experience of Oblivion. I don't know. I feel like all of the areas of that game, granted because of my tastes, all of the areas of that game that I engaged with got, you know, the attention that I feel like they deserved. Maybe the arena could have been slightly more fleshed out, but I still enjoyed it thoroughly.
Oh, who is the yellow team?
Bastards is who they are.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like
no,
yeah, it could be fleshed out. Wasn't fleshed out at all, it turns out. Yeah.
But I don't know. I enjoyed the quest line for, you know, the champion and whatnot.
Okay. I hate the main quest of Oblivion. I think it's terrible.
I will say I enjoy what you do for a good chunk of the missions, and I enjoy the like cult infiltration kind of aspect.
Which only happens for one mission.
Yeah, but I like Mankar Cameron as a villain.
Why? What's Mankar Cameron's motivation? What actually is Mankar Cameron?
I mean, is
he a Baltimore or is he a Bosmer or an Altmer or a whatever the old race is called? Which one is he? Aelid? Aelid, I think is the word.
I always thought he was a high elf.
Yep. Okay.
Was he? Is he not?
Well, that's the least supported option of the three in terms of game lore.
Interesting.
But he does use an Altmer character model
Yeah.
in the game, even though that has nothing to do with the lore. So this is why it's kind of an issue. My issue is more fundamentally that like I have no fucking idea why he wants to Oblivion things. Like, yes, it's like, okay, make paradise. But it's like, how the fuck did you get to be either so corrupt that you're working directly for Dagon's? And Dagon's a terrible choice for a like nebulous antagonist anyway, because Dagon's whole thing is like as a Mirror's Dagon, right?
Yeah.
His whole thing is that like change. So if you have a paradise, he wants to create destruction. If you have destruction, he wants to create a paradise. Like that's fundamentally his domain.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's the fact that like they only properly show his plane of oblivion in paradise. Otherwise, it's there's another prince who's like when you go to Oblivion, that's what his plane of oblivion looks like, but not what Mayor Dagon plane of oblivion ever looks like.
Yeah.
The lore, basically, the lore in Oblivion is fucked, is my point. And that directly impedes the main quest. Not to mention the fact that the main quest gets so much fucking priority placed on it as you play that it's like you can never. At least I always felt like playing Oblivion, I could never really settle into the game.
That's interesting.
Skyrim has the same problem.
I feel like Oblivion, I could almost always settle into the game because I get the Amulet of Kings, but I'm just some bumblefuck prisoner. The Emperor gave me this shit. He just got assassinated. I don't know him. For all I know, he's the reason I'm in prison. It's the stupid laws. So fuck him. Fuck his amulet. I'm gonna go be an assassin.
That's one approach. The other approach is that certainly the game doesn't tell you any of that, and you basically have to headcanon it at all to have that perspective. Which, I mean, fair enough, go ahead, right? But like, okay. So now what? And also like, then what's the fucking point of anything? It's, I don't know. Oblivion's a fucking mess.
I mean, sure. I don't know. I always find that like the main plot urgency only really starts when you like go to Wayne and Briary, and then like actually go to Kvatch. But I usually end up just fucking around, and then when it's time, stumble across Kvatch. Like, okay, I guess I'll save this place now. I guess it's time.
Right, which means that it's been, casually burning in the background for however many hours. Yeah.
Yeah, but my character doesn't know that.
Except for the fact that he's told.
Before you go to Wayne and Priory?
Yeah. Yep.
No.
Yeah. You pass any motherfucker in the street, they'll tell you. It's part of the issue.
I'm not so sure about, like, beforehand. Afterwards, so sure. It's like, hey, it's the hero of Kvatch. I've never been to Kvatch, but I know you saved
it. They mention, like, the attack on Kvatch in the default, like, casual dialogue of NPCs. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, but here's the thing, right? That's just you could you could take Oblivion the way that you're describing. It's doable. It's just that the game doesn't have any idea that that's how it is. I've never tested this, but I'm sure with Skyrim, like I can imagine that with Skyrim, it's probably the same problem. That like the probably the world assumes that you at least got to the end of like the like talking to Rollo or whoever you went back with.
Uh-huh.
It was heavily set up to be Rollo. Or Rollo, whatever his name is. I don't remember. But whoever you went back with, right?
Mhm.
I'm relatively certain that the game it defaults to imagining that you did that before having any other like NPC interactions.
Yeah. I could probably agree with that. Even a
I
step
don't know.
even a step further, that you've at least had the first conversation with Balgriff.
Yeah, no, I think really that like
Or you're like on
the
your way
game.
to have the conversation.
I think it's worse. I'm pretty sure the game assumes that you've absorbed the first Dragon Soul
Eh.
from the get-go.
No, it doesn't. I know that for a fact.
How do you know that for a fact?
Because if you go to the Greybeards before you do that, they don't give a shit.
Sure. But if you walk by, I guess you might be right. You might be right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first sort of uh, uh, checkpoint that the game assumes is on the way to talk to Baldur. Because I'm pretty sure I've like ignored both of the dudes you can walk back with, and still went right up to Balgriff. It was like, yo, do you see that big fuck off dragon? It's nuts.
There's also the fact that you go back and talk to Balgriff. Doesn't Balgriff have the same voice as Ralof?
I will not sit idly by while the dragon enters my home and slaughters my people. Yeah. I'm
Right.
pretty sure. Yeah, like 90% of the Nords in that game have that voice.
Yeah.
Which, if you're gonna make like one of the most important quest NPCs for like half the game, have the same voice as like Nord number 5, 11, and 62. I don't know.
This is a common issue across the Elder Scrolls games, honestly.
Sure, but I mean,
people are not the same.
Yeah, and I think I think it's a lot to do with poor voice direction.
Yes, definitely. Oh, and also just not actually like thinking what you're actually doing with asking someone to read these lines.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, it's poor voice direction, but it's like abysmal voice direction. Whereas like in Morrowind, it was so bad that you could forgive it because you just say it's video gamey. So that's it.
Yeah, but the
every
only
time you
voice
say
acting in
dialogue-
Morrowind wasn't as bad as most Bethesda voice acting.
Not true. Well, and like the only voice acting you would hear is if or when you end a conversation with an NPC, and then they would have their racial NPC,
Yeah.
end. outside of fucking
Starting the game.
Dagoth Ur.
Oh, that
Yeah, Azur as well. You hear from her a lot, but Dagoth Ur. Calm, Nuravari. Dagoth Ur speech.
Okay. I imagine you're putting it on Meeseeks.
What's that?
I imagine you're putting that on Meeseeks.
Oh, I can do it. Sure.
So,
Spoilers for the end of Morrowind.
yeah. So I'll pause the music that I've been streaming so that everybody else can hear too.
Come, Nerevar, friend or traitor, come. Come and look upon the heart and Akula Khan. And bring Wraithguard, I have need of it. Come to the Heart Chamber. I wait for you there where we last met countless ages ago. Come to me through fire and war. I welcome you. Welcome, Moon and Star. I have prepared a place for you. Come, bring Wraithguard to the Heart Chamber. Together let us free the cursed false gods. Welcome, Nerevar. Together we shall speak for the law and the land and shall drive the mongrel dogs of the Empire from Morrowind. Is this how you honor the Sixth House and the tribe unmourned? Come to me openly, and not by stealth. Dagoth Ur welcomes you, Nerevar, my old friend. But to this place where destiny is made, why have you come unprepared? Welcome, Moon and Star.
That line was
to
pretty
this
good.
place where destiny is made. What a fool you are. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive? There is no escape. No recall or intervention can work in this place. Come, lay down your weapons. It is not too late for my mercy. Did you get the false copy of Sunder? Shame on you. Oh, please, Nerevar, spare me. Oh, dear me. Forgive me, but I am enjoying this. I surrender. I surrender. Omnipotent, omniscient, sovereign, immutable. How sweet it is to be a god. Farewell, sweet Nerevar. Better luck on your next incarnation. Persistent, aren't you? This is getting tiresome. Stupid. You are a stubborn thing, Nerevar. This is taking too long. Come on! Damn this thing! What are you doing? What are you doing? Fool! Stop! Too late. This is the end. The bitter, bitter end.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that is great.
That one.
His voice actor is pretty good.
Yeah, that one line of what false intoxicating innocence or something like that. That I want to use every time. Every time somebody says something stupid.
Also, this has been on my mind today. I'm gonna put this real quick. It's been a great video game boss voice acting.
Translocation complete.
Yeah.
Commencing planetary analysis of Azeroth. Stand back, mortals. I'm not here to fight you.
I can almost not even
It is in
imagine
the
that this is
universe's
the
best
same game.
interest to re-originate
Yeah.
this planet should my analysis find systemic corruption. Do not interfere.
I feel
Your
like
actions are illogical. All possible results for this encounter have been calculated.
I feel like if
Pantheon will
rebalanced
receive
and
the
like
observer's
the
message
mechanics
regardless
slightly
of outcome.
reworked, WoW could be a great single player
Analysis
RPG.
complete. There is partial corruption in the planet's
Very
life
nice.
support systems, as well as complete corruption in most of the planet's defense mechanisms. Begin uplink. Reply code Omega. Planetary re-origination requested. Do not worry about my fate, Bronzen. If the signal is not transmitted in time, re-origination will proceed regardless. Save your world. The stars come to my aid. I lack the strength to transmit the signal. You must hurry. Find a place of power close to the skies.
This.
See your world through my
There we go.
eyes.
There it is.
A universe so vast as to be immeasurable, incomprehensible even to your greatest minds. Beware.
Oh, so that's where that fucking
Out of time.
that voice line comes from.
Behold the tools of creation.
It's the beware that deadly boss
Witness the
monster.
fury of the cosmos.
Yep.
Loss of life unavoidable. I do what I must. I have seen worlds bathed in the Maker's flames, their denizens fading without so much as a whimper. Entire planetary systems born and raised in the time that it takes your mortal hearts to beat once. Yet all throughout, my own heart devoid of emotion, of empathy, I have felt nothing. A million lives wasted. Had they all held within them your tenacity? Had they all loved life as you do?
Every time you shut my eyes. Sorry.
Perhaps it is your imperfection, that which grants you free will, that allows you to persevere against all cosmically calculated odds. You prevail where the Titan's own perfect creations have failed. I've rearranged the reply code. Your planet will be spared. I cannot be certain of my own calculations anymore. Farewell, mortals. Your bravery is admirable for such flawed creatures.
Yeah. Algalon the Observer, also great boss.
Yeah.
The best. The boss that the game should have ended with.
Honestly, yeah. Like, all the
I think it's a real fucking shark jump to do anything after Alagon.
if they did N'Zoth after Algalon, I think that would have been also an acceptable place to end it.
Well, really, right? Really. Here's the thing about their shark jumping.
So,
The end boss that was set up from the beginning of WoW would have been Sargeras.
yeah.
I mean, some kind of like weirdly resurrected Sargeras, but Sargeras regardless,
Yeah.
right? And when does Sargeras show up?
It is
And the
in Legion's,
Legion?
Legion's got a big sword. He stabs. He does a stab, and then he's locked away with the Titans and Illidan for some reason.
Oh, I mean, where else are you gonna leave Illidan, I guess?
Like,
But, like,
you can't keep him in the story, obviously. You just gotta bring him
No.
back for one expansion and be like, all right, here's your Burning Crusade fan service. Get the fuck
Yeah,
outta here.
exactly. Remember Illidan? Remember when you guys liked this game? Yeah.
Even though his story made no fucking sense in Burning Crusade.
The story in Burning Crusade made no fucking sense.
Yeah. Like, I get it that he was supposed to be like double agent kind of deal, but he went a bit overboard with the like ends justify the means kind of deal.
Well, I mean, it's a bit of a trope, but I don't think it was terribly used when it came to Illidan. My understanding was like he legitimately lost his marbles by that point.
But they tried to be like, nah, he didn't in Legion. It's-
Oh,
yeah.
that's stupid.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, okay, now it just doesn't make any sense then. Because like
Yeah.
in Burning Crusade, if you just take it in isolation, like that with Warcraft 3, like yeah, his time spent on Outlands drove him mad. He became
Well,
a megalomaniac and whatnot.
I kind of think the way I understood it was that he had lost his shit because of the skull of Gul'dan before that. And the way you could tell that he lost his shit
Yeah.
is because he wanted to conquer a space desert with water snake people.
I mean, true.
He had gone full retarded at that point.
Very true.
You are not prepared. Well, you weren't prepared, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a yeah. Hmm. I don't know. I think it could have like they could have tastefully gone from Illidan past Arthas. I mean, Arthas was the most set up as a boss for WoW from Warcraft 3, that's for sure.
Oh, sure.
But the thing World of Warcraft hints at the entire time is like the possibility of Sargeras being important again.
Yeah. Which
Uh,
it really should have been like he was the ultimate like 80-man raid boss or some shit. And
Sure, yeah.
like I don't know. Or I don't know, it was like a server-wide event where like multiple raid groups could take him on at once or something. It could have been cool. They could have really hammed up the MMO aspect of MMORPG.
Yeah, they never really bothered to like properly use the format they had.
Yeah, I mean like world bosses in initial World of Warcraft was okay, but definitely needed work.
Well, they hadn't figured out the tag system by then.
Yeah.
The unfortunate reality is what you meant to say is that world bosses in Mists of Pandaria was when they finally understood what they had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
But too bad the rest of Mists of Pandaria also existed.
To an extent, yeah. To a very broad extent. There's certainly a lot of Mists that I liked, but there's a lot that I didn't as well.
Well, look, right? I think we're headed for a period in the near future where people, for example, will look at Thor Love and Thunder
Uh-huh.
and say, "Oh yeah, I like that, of course that was going to be shit." Like they had already been shit for some time at that point.
Uh-huh.
But in general, the average person doesn't realize when something turns to shit. And my point with this with regard to WoW is you can say some stuff about the nice parts of Mists of Pandaria, sure, but don't forget that it had already turned to shit since fucking Cataclysm started.
Yeah. Certainly.
Like we were already beyond the eclipse of this game is not good at it.
Yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to get into it, the moment item level or gear score was introduced in late Wrath, that's the start of everything going downhill.
That's pretty fair, yeah.
Because like I would have, you can tolerate the the group finder to a certain extent, but when you get to like just discriminating against people because they weren't lucky enough to get a gear drop,
Well, and
despite them
you know what?
perhaps being better players than your best geared players.
I was gonna say that's what it genuinely laid bare. Is that like it never mattered that you learned the game
Yeah.
and like got good at doing your rotation and spacing out your rotation as you avoid like hazards in a boss fight. Like that was never actually what you had to do. It was all about how much you played and the drops you got the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And then Classic WoW kind of put forth the notion of like, no, you can actually be good at the game and that, you know, make up for gear, but like people just didn't take that lesson to heart.
Yeah,
Because
they
a
had
lot
some
of-
unlearning to do.
Yeah. Because what is it? The first clear of Molten Core in Classic, in WoW Classic, was done by a raid team that did it in mostly quest greens, and most of them were level 58.
Yeah. Unsurprising. I mean, because that's the other like dirty little secret of WoW, right? Is that the early game was actually even better because Blizzard hadn't figured out how best to take your money from you yet.
Yep.
Well.
And there was the world was much more of a character than it is nowadays.
Yeah. Perhaps a little bit too much of one given from the lore perspective relative to like of the fact that this game is supposed to be a continuation out of Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
So what the fuck are any of the creatures in Winter Spring? But anyway, that's a small gripe, really, ultimately. I mean, the existence of the gnomes is a much more reasonable gripe, I would say. But yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, they just come out of left field if your understanding of Warcraft comes from the series.
Sure.
Point.
Yeah. No, I get you. But as do quite a bit of the, I don't know. I think a whole bunch of the like allied race shit is just real dumb. Like, sure, there are like variations of races and whatnot that like maybe aren't super involved in the conflict, but then you have like, of course the fucking furries were here the whole time. They were just in the desert, not talking to anyone. It's like, okay, cool. I guess they're furries now.
Wait, furries in the desert who were here the whole time?
This was after you quit, and but
What?
yeah, there's
Hold on. I didn't know there was something new for me to be mad about today.
oh, this is like 2 expansions ago, man. The Volpera, whatever.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's like what, Fox people, but with the Goblin rig. That's pretty much it. And they're on the Horde.
They're Horde, okay.
Yeah.
Fucking what is this?
Yeah, man. It's stupid.
What did the Alliance get at this time?
Um,
Mechanomes?
I believe that was the one that came out with, or no, I don't think that was the one that came out with them, but maybe. Um,
Voltairean, I know. Those are just Tubbo humans.
yeah.
Dark Iron Dwarves, Light Forged Draenei, Void Elves. The fuck is a Light Forged Draenei? Looks like it's just a Draenei.
Yeah, there is a slight. It's just a different population of Draenei, which is like. That's when we're getting into like, okay, these could have just been character customization options, not like, oh, you get a whole bunch
All right,
of
look,
racials.
look. When you initially said the furries that had been there secretly the whole time, I was like, well, you know, John, there was the wall blocking off access to Gilneas.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the warden.
I mean, yeah, those are all also the furries that were secretly there the whole time. But I couldn't believe that, you know, because that's just
the Worgen.
you know,
The Worgen's
humans with
lore
an
was
affliction.
kind of alright. Yeah. Granted, they should have probably up-leveled Shadowfang Keep for how important it was, but outside of that, okay, look.
Yeah, dude, they
Coming from
did
Warcraft 3, right?
SFK dirty. Yeah.
Oh, especially yeah. Don't get me started on when they remade SFK. That was terrible. But coming from Warcraft 3, humans, dwarves, night elves, definitely the Alliance races, right? Those four. So that's fine. And those were the default Alliance races when the game first existed, right?
Yeah.
One thing you might also expect from Warcraft 3 as a Alliance race is Blood Elves or High Elves, right? Because
They don't
the
really
Alliance
join the. They don't join the Horde, like in Warcraft 3. That's like
no,
a development for Burning Crusade.
exactly. And
So,
like
yeah.
on the Alliance side in Warcraft 3, the priest, the mage slayer, whatever it's called exactly, the archmage, and some wizard chick I forget the name of. But basically, most of the units that come from the Arcane College, right,
Yeah.
or the Arcanum, whatever that building's called, are high
Arcane
elves.
Sanctum, I think it was.
Arcane Sanctum, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
So okay, you would expect these four, and then maybe, or no, actually, gnome is an invention. But
it's a fabrication.
It's a fabrication, but you would expect human, dwarf, night elf, and then perhaps high elf.
No.
That should have been the races, probably. And on the horde side, orc, tauren, troll, definitely all these.
Yeah.
Undead is a weird one.
I feel like
Gotta be.
Undead could have been done the way that like Pandar were done, of like you can choose.
Reasonable, yeah, that makes
But, like-
sense, especially given the idea of the lore of the undead.
But
But,
you
like,
can also like I don't know. I feel like that could be an interesting, almost like difficulty option with like how you engage with the world. Of like if you choose undead but you go alliance, then like NPCs like need to I don't know maybe have a certain rep requirement to actually talk to NPCs or some shit.
Word. But you know what's actually fucked up here? So you know how the Alliance should have had high elves coming from Warcraft 3?
Yeah.
Fuck the undead off. The Horde should have had goblins in the first place.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were more horde significant in you know the the RTS games, so makes more sense. Like there are like several dealings with goblins and whatnot in Warcraft 3 at the very least with the Horde campaigns, whereas the human campaign, I don't think the Night Elf campaign fucks with them at all. I think the human campaign has one dealing with goblins, and that's about it.
I don't remember anything like that, but I know that they show up briefly at the Horde side.
Yeah, I think there might be another mission that involves Zeppelins in the human campaign that I'm not remembering. I know that's one of the things they come up with in the Orc campaign.
See.
Yeah. Which, I don't know. It makes me almost want to play Warcraft 3 again, but as it stands right now, Reforged is in such a broken state that, like, it barely makes me want to play the fucking campaign either. Because, like, if I played a few missions, like, I played through, I think, the entire human campaign on the new graphics, and I was like, I think this actually looks uglier than the 2002 graphics, so I want to switch it back.
Yep.
Guess
Yep.
what? I had to replay the entire human campaign just because I switched a graphics option.
Yeah, I remember what you told me
Yeah.
about that.
Just why? Who makes a game like that?
Wait, what the fuck is this?
Huh?
The Alliance can have Void Elves,
Yeah.
and the Horde can have Nightborn.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Alright. So I'm not
Wait,
saying
don't actually answer that. I don't actually care,
Alright.
right? The point is that, like, they're both just purple blood elves. So the fuck.
I mean,
And I would have readily called Nightborn, because I was doing dailies in Suramar.
yeah.
I would have readily called Nightborn Void Elves with not much of a concern as to what I was saying specifically. You know?
Yeah, I think fucking Nightborn is a stupid name for what they are.
Especially in a world that already has night elves.
Yeah. I mean, they are the closest, I guess, of the related races. It's just like time and exposure to arcane magic.
Crack. Yeah.
Yeah. Or crack. You know, whatever your fix is. That'd be a lot more of a different story if they were, you know, restoring the ley lines of crack to Suramar.
Sounds great, actually. I'd play the fuck out of this. The ley
I mean,
lines of crack.
I mean, that's essentially what the storyline for the zone was. Is the ley lines?
Yeah, I remember.
The ley lines of crack have been disrupted by the demons, and now they control the crack trade.
And simultaneously, this weirdly functional, antiquated, fucking sealed away government was also hoarding the crack. Well, the ley lines of crack. It's
While
fucking
also
good.
saving themselves from the outside world with the crack dome.
Yep. They were having the crackdown, actually. Alright, well, on that bombshell, it's time to end. I need to go to bed.
Fair enough, man.
I'll talk to you sometime in the future, John. Peace, man.
Peace.